Hi, I'm Rebecca Pickram, Public Information Officer for Rockingham County. When I think of Rockingham County, I think of the word growth. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, growth is defined as to become greater in prevalence, popularity, and influence. There's a lot of growth that's happening in Rockingham County. There's also a lot of hands that are involved in that growth in Rockingham County. Today, we are joined by three of our department heads. We've got Hiram Marziano, Director of Planning and Zoning, We've got Rodney Cates, Director of Emergency Services, and Ronnie Tate, Director of Engineering and Public Utilities. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today, taking time out of your very busy schedule to have this conversation with me. How is growth managed in Rockingham County?
I'll take that. How we manage our growth is through a series of ordinances, policies, and plans. Chief among those is our land use plan. We recently adopted a new land use plan last May in 2021, had multiple opportunities for community development, community input, probably about 2 or 3 years working on the whole solid plan, and updated everything all together. It takes into account where we want to be in about 20 years, also gives it some advice in not just our development parts, but also recreation, economic development itself, engineering, utilities. So it runs a gamut of the development scene.
Gotcha. You mentioned a land use plan. First, what is that for the folks at home, and who manages that, who controls that, who administers the land use plan?
Well, essentially, like I said, it's a comprehensive plan. It covers all of our aspects for how we want to see and envision this community as it goes forward. It does take into fact the community input to that, but also some best practices. So it's an amalgamation of the professional standards and the community standards and bringing it all together. Community Development Department manages it personally, but through the oversight and approvals of the Board of Commissioners.
With that land use plan, how do we go from a land use plan to the communities that we see in Rockingham County?
Okay, the land use plan itself is just a framework. Mm-hmm. It helps us guide policies and ordinance decisions. It can help us guide budget in some time. So basically, it helps us develop the rules of which we approve developments, the rules that we go through for review of commercial development, residential development, major subdivisions. That's how it all gets to the ground, is through the Unified Development Ordinance. If we had a thoroughfare plan, it would guide that. Things like that, things that we're going to move forward with as we continue this process of this living, breathing document. But what it does is, as the community itself develops, it develops along with it, just guiding like a guiding hand.
Gotcha. And so I'm assuming that's what that Unified Development Plan is?
The Unified Development Ordinance is basically our laws of which how we regulate land use in the county. It'll cover everything from how the Planning Board acts, how the Board of Commissioners acts, how the staff acts, the Technical Review Committee acts, your setbacks for your land, who can do what where, covers rezonings. It basically is our rules.
Gotcha.
And regulations.
Gotcha. So we'll circle back around to that Technical Review Committee that you mentioned. But before we get to that, can Rodney or Ronnie, can y'all explain maybe how your department is involved in the development and growth in Rockingham County?
Sure. From the emergency services standpoint, we look at call volume. We run statistical data at all times to maintain where our call volume is occurring. And with the growth in this area, we expect to have an increased call volume in all aspects of emergency services, which would be the law enforcement community, as well as fire, rescue, and EMS. And we would reallocate resources to that area should the need be. We've actually had conversations with our sheriff, with our local fire departments and our rescue squads, and our EMS operations manager about reallocating resources to that area to meet the needs of that community as the growth continues.
Ronnie, what about you?
So in my department, I think the single biggest contributor we have to growth is, of course, the water and sewer system. And I think it is one of the driving forces of the growth in the southwestern part of the county is the fact that we had a very large and robust water and sewer system in place in that part of the county. And so that is our area of expertise, or mine, for the growth in the county.
Just making sure that, as the director of engineering and public utilities, making sure people have water, sewer.
Yes.
Those very basic needs are met, especially
Yes.
in the growing communities.
Yeah, especially for the large developments that are coming. It's very attractive for them to be able to maximize their lot yields on these tracts of land. And so with what Marzie referred to earlier with the new change in the ordinances and all, they can maximize that with water and sewer to those subdivisions.
I want to come back to the technical review committee if we can. Can any one of you guys explain what that is to our residents and our citizens at home, their part in all of this?
Our technical review committee is a series of professionals from both within the county, several of our departments. All three of us are either sit on it or represented by it. And outside agencies, state agencies, the school systems, part of it. Duke Energy has a say in it, NCDEQ, NCDOT, transportation issues. So we've taken a full realm of professional knowledge to help us make decisions on approvals for major subdivisions, commercial development. They'll even help give us advice on, for instance, if we think another fire station might need to be there, if we think this line for utilities needs to be expanded or extended, what goes into those factors. They're the advisory committee that helps make those determinations and bring these plans to reality.
So we mentioned the planning board. Clearly, there's a lot of thought and hands and eyes that are on each plan, each process to make, an idea of a community, an idea of a development into a realization. Can we kind of go through that process and who that, the channels and funnels that will go through?
Sure. Essentially, depending on the type of what's being approved or what's being requested and what's being undertaken, let's use a rezoning for an example, for a subdivision, because we're seeing a lot of those in our southwest quadrant right now. So, but they basically do is they apply through the community development department, and then we go to the planning board for a rezoning. They are an advisory board to the board of commissioners. They're made up of volunteer citizens appointed by the board of commissioners, and it's their job to review not just our recommendations and our research, but to take into account that they're the feedback for the public. They'll hold public meetings, public hearings, and basically give a general recommendation from those meetings and from the public input and from staff input to the Board of Commissioners, which official public hearings held, and then the Board of Commissioners will make a final decision on that rezoning case after hearing from the public. After that kind of process, it then comes to us as staff members and those outside agencies to start reviewing those items and ticking all the boxes off of our review to make sure everything is in compliance. So the planning board and the board of commissioners both will hold a lot of sway in that and a lot of decision, and they're really our guiding principles to have that public involvement when the public themselves aren't able to speak for themselves.
So just to review, an idea is brought to you guys, the facts and the figures come to you guys in the planning and zoning board, the planning and zoning department. You guys will use your expertise between countless departments, both within the county and within the state of North Carolina, Department of Transportation, the county GIS, economic development, public health, emergency services, making sure our public utilities, water and sewer are all there. It's all a possibility if, people want to move there. From there, after you've gathered all those facts, you present those facts to the planning board, correct? And then the planning board, made up of citizens, will take in all that information and then advise if it's possible to move forward, correct?
Right.
Yep. And then from there, it goes to the Board of Commissioners, who basically is like our governing body for Rockingham County.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, for certain items like rezonings, things like that, if we were talking about a special use permit, it was in with the Planning and Zoning Board. They'd be the final say in that. Some things, if it doesn't need rezoning, it would only go to the TRC. So there's multiple avenues of things, but at some point in some time, every project in the county has had input and has had professional eyes on it and has multitude of professionals to give their advice and their approvals. And then the board, all that's laid out from us by ordinances approved and plans approved by the Board of Commissioners. So even when they don't directly hear or see something, it's their guiding principles of which have allowed us to do what we do in our work.
So this is clearly a well thought out process from all aspects, like I said, from the local perspective, but also from the state perspective. This is not something that, oh, it'd be cool to have, a really large, let's say a housing development, let's just throw one up. No, it's a well thought out process from its conception to its final development, and even into its final development it takes plenty of stages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. Clearly, the growth in Rockingham County is spectacular through all facets. And like we said, everything has to be considered. Is there any last thoughts you'd like the folks at home to know what's going on in Rockingham County as far as growth in your individual departments?
I would just say that we've had such a tremendous amount of growth in such a short amount of time on the Southwest Corridor. We, our department, and especially in water and sewer, or sewer in particular, we've been looking at trying to increase our sewer capacity in that area. We realize we've got some challenges with it right now, especially with all the development that is proposed and has been proposed to Marzy's department. And so we're looking at that now. We're working on upgrades to our infrastructure in that area, especially in the sewer or wastewater area. The board has set aside funding for those projects. It's in design and permitting right now. Hope to go out to bid latter part of this year and start construction next year to address those challenges and to hopefully provide enough capacity and wastewater service for that area of the county for many years to come. We identified some issues with it early on. Staff was aware of it, management, the board was aware of it. We addressed those concerns and are working to remedy those and put the county in as good a position as we can, not only for residential but also industrial development in that area.
Awesome. So massive growth that
Yes.
is coming, but it's also we are prepared as a county
Yes.
to handle that growth.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules, like I said, and informing not only myself but our citizens at home about the growth that's going on in Rockingham County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lance Metzler. I'm the county manager for Rockingham County. And I just want to say that Rockingham County, the Board of Commissioners, administration, and staff do take growth in our community and our county very seriously. We want to make sure we do it in the best interest of all the citizens of Rockingham County. The county has positioned itself to make sure that we are very proactive when it comes to addressing growth in our county. Particularly, we're seeing a lot of growth in our southwestern part of the county. We want to make sure that everything is available for not only our existing residents there, but future residents. So as you've heard from our panel, we've been looking at upgrading our water and sewer. We have taken public safety very seriously. We have actually followed our master plan. And again, our master plan is kind of a guide or a charter for us to be able to guide through and make sure we have areas of growth where we need to. And this area that in the southwestern part of the area has been identified as an area of growth. As far as there were some concerns that were brought up about the roads and schools, DOT, Department of Transportation, has been very active in the Technical Review Committee, and their input is very, very heard. They also have been in discussions on what to do in that particular area, as well as the schools. The Board of Commissioners and the school board have formed a committee to work together in order to make recommendations to both the school board and the Board of County Commissioners on what to do with the schools and with growth. So again, the county's been looking at growth since 2007 when they made the upgrades to the water and sewer system on Highway 220 or I-73. And we have been looking at the growth and taking that into consideration of what would transpire out there, not only, as mentioned, residential and industrial, but also commercial. And I think that's a good thing for Rockingham County. I think we need to make sure that we diversify our revenue streams, and we can do that by bringing in industry, by bringing in commercial, by having some residential growth. Again, we have discussed residential growth. Residential growth has been discussed with the Planning and Zoning Board. Some of the growth has been just conceptual only. So again, we're looking at it. We're making sure that we evaluate what is going on, and we want to make sure we do what's in the best interest of you, our citizens, and those who want to be citizens of Rockingham County. Again, thank you for joining us today, and have a wonderful day.